Say hi, Daddy. Say hi. Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi. Wait. Hi, Daddy. Say hi, Daddy.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi. High five. High five. Give Mommy a high five. High five. Good job.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Real People Podcast. I'm Dan. I'm sitting with my friend Lalie. Say hello, Lalie.
Hello, Lalie.
So, I wanted to talk to Lalie today. Lalie was a first-time mom during COVID. I want to hear all about her experience. Lalie is actually my oldest friend going back to high school. So, I know Lalie's got a great story to tell. So, Lalie, before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thanks, Dan. So I'm Lalie. I went to high school. I met Dan through musical theater, where they needed females to participate in the musical theater program at Dan's high school, and that's where we met and became friends ever since. I graduated Rutgers University with a broadcast journalism and psychology degree. I currently work in pharmaceuticals, where I'm a marketing operations specialist. I've been doing that for about 7 to 10 years now in pharmaceuticals. And then when I'm not a mom or a wife or hanging out with some friends and family, I am also the content creator for the YouTube video of Pink Lollipop Life.
So, what is this, a crossover episode? So, I'm very excited for. Please visit Lalie's YouTube channel after this video. Of course, let's hear her story first. So, Lalie, you have the wonderful, beautiful little girl, Isabel Snow, and we're going to be seeing pictures and hearing your story. So tell us a little bit about this journey, because it certainly was a journey. You realized you got pregnant July of 2019, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what was your due date, if you recall?
So my due date was going to be March 28th of 2020.
Okay, excellent. And as we all know, COVID started literally March 1st of 2020.
Yep.
So if you were paying close attention, Lalie's due date was smack right after COVID. So when did you bring this beautiful little bundle of joy into the world?
So she was officially born on March 22nd at 12:45 a.m. At the Princeton Medical Hospital here locally in Princeton, near Princeton. And she came about a week early. There were a lot of factors involved, I think, that kind of caused the earlier delivery. And what happened was, it was actually strange because in January 2020, everybody had all these hopes and dreams of a new decade and a whole, 2020. No one had any thoughts of an impending pandemic. It was probably the last thing people had ever thought would possibly happen. For me specifically as well, because I had a father actually who came from the Philippines. He came here to the U.S. to see and spend time with me in anticipation for Belle's arrival. And it was just strange because about a week after he arrived, he started to get sick, and we were always in the hospital almost every other day. They got to the point where there were people who were coming on site in the house to kind of see how he was doing and everything. And it was, that, and then there were these things on the news about this pandemic coming and this COVID-19 virus that started circulating, the tri-state area. And then on top of that, the worries of, hey, what's this life going to be like as a new mom? I have friends and family, who have young kids, and I've seen that, and I felt like it was a whole new experience for me, and it started to become really apparent when even the offices started talking about it. It was past more than just a water cooler discussion, right? It was people actually started to treat you like you're a walking virus. And that's when it started to become really, really scary, and even to the point where working from home became an option, where prior to the pandemic, right, like working from home was just not as
And we
apparent.
were only supposed to work from home for like 2 weeks. Everyone's like, all right,
Right.
2 weeks, come back.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So,
And I remember talking to HR, and HR was like, listen, if you had to work from home for the remainder of your pregnancy, just to be on the safe side, feel free to do so. And I honestly thought I would be working from home for like 2-3 weeks, maybe max. And then I'd have the baby and go on the maternity leave. No, I had no idea what was going to happen after that. So,
and so you were really far along. Like you were around and third headed for home when everything really hit the fan. And um, tell us, put us in your emotional mind state. Like you're literally about to become a first time mom.
mhm.
It's the worldwide pandemic that nobody in our lifetime has really experienced. So walk us through it. What's going through your mind?
It was tough. There was this uncertainty that there, in a way, there was like just it kind of felt like this dark cloud looming over everybody, right? Like it almost felt like a scary movie, just because nobody knew what to expect. I was embarking and preparing mentally, and for the arrival of this baby, that I have never experienced being a mom before, and my husband and I had never any real experience with young kids. So that was a different mindset that we were trying to put ourselves in. Also having a sick father at the house, he was not doing well. We couldn't identify what was going on with him. And, at the same token, being 8 months pregnant, not being able to move, not being able to be mobile, and it was becoming increasingly, harder to focus, just because you were being thrown in different, directions. That got to prepare for baby, but hey, what's happening to my dad? And at the same token, it was also like, well, what's happening in the world? Why is everyone treating the other person like they've got this ailment, or why do I feel like I'm in that movie Outbreak? It was strange. I can honestly recall a pivotal moment. Right, it was around Actually, it was February 28th of 3 years ago when we had Belle's baby shower, and we had it here at the house. It was like a big event. There were like 50 people congregating in my house, and it was like a switch, Jan. It just felt like right after that event, nobody wanted to see people. Everybody wanted to work from home. Everybody wanted to avoid other people. Or even if you were in the supermarket, everyone like treated you like you were a walking virus. I feel like that was the moment at that time where everything just flipped the switch. And then unfortunately too, for us personally, our family had experienced a loss of a family member about 2 weeks after Belle was born, and it was unfortunately to COVID. So it was a real heartbreaking moment for us in our family, because we became a statistic like really early on, and especially at the time when people didn't really understand, like how did they get COVID, or or it was it is it how contagious was it?
It
And
was so new.
it was so new, and even just navigating through having that funeral was the first most like surreal experience. Like we had to do it over Zoom. No family members were able to get together and have like that proper goodbye, and still trying to process the loss of a family member. I mean, we in our family took it a lot more seriously, just because it hit home so much and so early on. So we were, as a family, just so critically integral for us to take care of this baby. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
she was the most recent member of this clan and this family unit that we have. And I think, having that circle of life, right, where we lost someone who was so incredible of a person, and only to have that bittersweet emotions of hey, we have a new one joining the family. But it was tough, and it was really hard. The emotions were, I honestly sometimes like feel like if I go back to that, it's such a dark place, and it seems strange now that 3 years later it almost feels like it was just a bad dream. But at the time it was like almost a walking, like I was numb. I think that was a great way to experience. Like I didn't know what was happening, how to process. There was probably a whole bevy of emotions that scared, confused, angry at the world. The way the world was handling it. You feel angry.
I imagine there's probably a lot of complex emotions.
Yeah.
And would is there a sense of guilt? And I'm not trying to say you should feel guilty, but is there a sense of guilt because here I am, I've got this bundle of joy that I just brought, and yet here's this devastating loss that simultaneously occurred.
Yeah.
I imagine that has to be extremely a complex emotion during an extremely complex time. And I'm so sorry to hear losing Gerard, and that's what a crazy time that was. I think we look back at it like it almost didn't happen. Like it was
Right.
almost like this was like, oh, this was so long ago. Like it was from, we're recording this in February 23. Like really wasn't that long ago. So Isabel, who truly is a bundle of joy, came out. She's wonderful. She's intelligent, funny, smart, just like her mom.
Uh,
But obviously, there's a lot of typical experiences that here we are in the midst of a quarantine in 2020 2021. Do you feel like Belle missed out on any key experiences, or did she? Let's start with that. Do you feel like she missed out on anything that, man, I wish she had that?
yeah. That's a very loaded question, Daniel. I think any new mom, right? Any new mom that had a baby in 2020, or even very, what they call pandemic babies, right? I think there is a list of things that you can honestly say has been hard. And like for us specifically, to dovetail on what I said earlier, took we took quarantine probably more serious than others, and with because of that, Belle did not meet a lot of family members, did not get to
Wow.
know any of our close friends and family. Many a time we had, if there were visitors, it was so brief, and it was through the screen, right? Like through the front door and through the patio doors, or towards the summer we started to open up and have people come over and have lunch with us, like social distancing. Like who remembers that word? Social distancing lunches, like on the deck, and you sat on that side of the table. It's like, here's our baby, but you could only look at her from that other side of the table. And it was a really tough emotion to process, because you wanted to share your baby. You wanted people to experience the emotions of interacting with her and holding her and getting that baby smell. And she didn't experience any of that. Like there were all the first year holidays and celebrations were put on hold. It was tough because being such a one like person that loves to host and loves to have people over and like invite people, and to say no, we can't, you cannot come, and the best you can do is stand in our driveway and stand 6 feet away. It was all those firsts. I feel like, honestly, I even get comments from like friends and family now, and they say, we don't know that Belle. We don't know the Belle when she was 3 months old. We don't know what that looked like and what that felt like. They only know the Belle now, which is, she's amazing and she's great, but you didn't get that early bonding. And I think that's one of the biggest regrets that I have,
Sure.
that he lost. And we're obviously doing our best now to make up for that.
And she's doing great.
And she, yes, she's doing great. Like she won't know, but I'll never forget. Like for me, it's tough to tell her that, that all these people you love and that love you, they didn't know you that first year, and that's the hardest. And that will always be like this tender spot or topic for me. So, yeah.
Were there, you mentioned, not having those early key bonds. It was really just you, your husband Bill, and baby, and that for months and longer. And did you encounter anything in terms of just her normal development that was atypical that you didn't normally, most moms probably wouldn't normally experience? And if there were, what did you do to overcome that?
A great question, Dan. So one of the biggest concerns that I had was, how would she handle developmentally interactions with people? Like, how would she be able to view other people? Because she only knew mom and dad for her first year of life, and we were worried that her ability to socially interact, or to even compartmentalize who this person was like a biggest challenge. I mean, we worked extra hard on our side to have very frequent, Zoom meetings or FaceTimes, or even like I have this photo album of photos of, the closest family members, and it became like a game where I was like, hey, who's that? Or hey, who's that? And that was the best way we were able to navigate through, that challenge of hoping that she would be okay. I mean, the blessing in disguise is, I think for her, she had the opposite effect, where I heard a lot of children who were born during the pandemic do have, some social developmental challenges that they're experiencing, maybe because of the fact that they were always so close to mom and dad. Whereas I think with Belle, and it's kind of in tune with her personality, right? Whereas you denied her that, and now she's just the complete opposite, right? She's the antithesis of shy and reserved and cautious. She just wants to meet everybody, love everybody, and welcome everybody.
And I think we'll get a really good sense of that towards the end of the review. Spoiler
Yes.
alert, when we're going to introduce the audience to Miss Isabel, who, our pandemic baby who came out stronger than ever from the whole experience.
Yes.
You mentioned, family being so important. You're playing these games where you're going through photo albums and you're saying, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? What's your family support system like? How did your family react, and how could they, hear, that you're just as desperate for Belle to meet your family, and your family's just as desperate to meet Belle. Like, what's that like where you simply can't?
So, our family unit was very supportive. They were in complete understanding, of our decision to stay strict with quarantine and being able to isolate, at least until we were able to, have medicinal assistance and being able to keep her safe and keep her healthy. It was tough because, everybody wanted to come over, everybody wanted to see her, and it was a very difficult decision for us, just because of we thought that was the best decision for our family and for her and her safety, and we don't have any regrets, as to having that decision, but I think the regret is just the fact that the family was denied that opportunity, right? The support has been amazing. It was, but at the same token, I think for our family too, they kind of understood, they knew, because like I said, we had been hit home with a loss, and I think it was not so hard to say, this is what we want to do for our family. And because they were also very aligned and subscribed to that idea that, hey, we need to stay safe, everyone seemed to have been okay with it. But it is tough, and it is emotionally charged when I kind of go back and tap into those those memories for sure.
How do you it's just the three of you at this point.
Yeah.
How do you kind of huddle up with your husband Bill and Belle, and for the longest time there was no end in sight. Like there's no we thought this would go on even longer than it did. Thank goodness it's over. Seemingly. What? How did you get through it? Like, how do you huddle up with your family and say, "We're going to power through this. We're going to make it"? How did you do it?
That's a great question. So I think you could even remove the topic of COVID, right? You could remove the pandemic. I think with any situation or any family trial or tribulation that you're going through, it really does require a strength in communication, in your relationship with your partner and your spouse, or even like your whoever you're living with, to have the same same thought and same drive and motivating factors into your decision. So for us, it was, hey, we had some varying choices, right? Like when do we open up, how do we open up, who do we open up to, and it was tough because I think I kind of buckled quicker than Bill did. He was adamant and strong, and I, as a mother, couldn't. It was harder for me, right, to do that. But I think even if it wasn't the pandemic, any challenge that happens in a relationship or even a family decision, it is really critical to be both on the same page and to have a happy medium as to what you are comfortable with, and that would be how you approach it. So it was tough, but we found a good compromise.
And you truly made a beautiful, wonderful little girl who's smart, too smart, I would dare say.
She does
funny.
punch above her weight class, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, she runs laps around me.
What was that, Isabel? Hey, you. Oh, look at you. Dada?
And what what a wonderful addition to all of our lives. Who's in Belle's circle? Is there? You talked about some things you would change with a time machine. Any other experiences? You mentioned your dad being sick. I mean, talk about being pregnant and the uncertainty of that, having your dad sick, having the world kind of collapse. Anything else you get with your time machine that you would change?
Anything that I would change with how we handled everything. I feel that everything happened for a reason. The way we kind of give that story to Belle is we kind of tell her about the day of her birth and the first few months of her life, and we kind of give it in true fitting with Belle. We tell it like it's a Disney story, where there was this princess coming to the kingdom, and she was, the royal family was excited to have her arrival, but this villain comes in and, casts a spell on the kingdom, and, we had to close the gates. Like, it's weird and surreal that this is how we have to explain what her first few months of life was. One of the hardest things I can honestly say that I wish I could change was just, how the emotions, or how I handled the emotions. I mean, I think it took me into a long time to process and acknowledge and accept what was going on, and, how to pivot, and how to adapt to what was going on, because I was just so angry and I was so upset that it was not what you expected. You know, everyone who brings home a new child, you want to share them, and you want to have a constant, parade of people coming to visit, and everything just shut down, and it was like a moat created around the house, and that was the hardest part to process. So I spent a good amount of 2020 angry, and I think if I could go back,
sure.
I would stop being so angry and kind of just say, "Hey, let's look at the positive of what's going on."
It's a human emotion. I think it's okay to be angry.
Yeah. I think I'm a little angrier than most, but I look back at it and that maybe I would have probably handled a lot better. But
you got through it, and it sounds like you whether you were angry, you channeled it in a way. You know, your family made it. You made it for the better. We're gonna meet our beautiful little princess in a little bit, but before we do that, let's take it home on. Lalie, you've got a wonderful family. You've been my oldest friend. I'm so proud of you and your family for making it, and for all the great things you'll continue to do. Do you have any tips for any moms that maybe were a first-time COVID mom? Even if they weren't a first-time COVID mom, first-time mom, what's the secret for success here?
That for my tip for any new mom, whether it was a COVID mom or not, it is survival. Survival. Handle it day by day. Do not stress the big things, because there will be so many smaller things that will be thrown at you. And it's really just if you're sinking, just survive. Do what you can. You know, if the best thing you did that day was drink a glass of water, I'm telling you, it's a step in the right direction. And it's a challenge to be a mom, especially a new mom. And eventually you'll find that little click, and it'll be wonderful in the end. But the trick really is just survive. Take it one day at a time.
Well, you survived. You made it, my friend. Let's not keep the viewers in suspense any longer. Let's say hello to this baby that we spent some time talking about and getting to know her really quick. So we're gonna take a 2-second break so we can meet Belle and cut. Oh, there's Lalie.
Dad. What's that? What do you think that is?
It's Isabel.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Belle.
I don't want to sit.
You gotta say hi to Dan.
Hi, Dan. I don't want to sit.
That's okay. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I'll stand up.
Oh, hi, Isabel.
Hi.
How are you?
Yes.
Say I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I like your bow.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
It matches your.
Who's that? Who's that?
Who's that?
What's his name?
Dan.
That's me.
I was Davey.
And we're standing. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. You're in demand.
Yes.
You're in demand.
Kiss, kiss.
Hi.
Kiss, kiss.
Hi.
Well, what are we doing?
We have to answer questions. So Dan's going to ask you a question, and you're going to answer it. She's like too busy looking at herself.
Isabel.
Down.
Wait. Look at Dan. Dan's going to ask you a question.
Isabel.
My nails.
Oh, put me here.
Oh, stand up.
Okay, there.
What's your
I get you dirty.
Okay.
What's your favorite story, Isabel?
Isabella.
From Encanto.
Yes.
Oh, from Encanto. Very cool.
Who's your favorite Disney character?
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel.
And Belle.
How does Rapunzel have really long hair?
Yes.
She does.
What colors are here?
White.
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 No.
Rapunzel's very old.
Yellow.
Yellow. That's right. And Belle, what's your favorite food?
Steak.
She said steak.
That's how you know she's great. Her favorite food is steak.
I do like latkes too, right?
What's that on?
What's that on?
Yes.
Dan's at his house.
I want to go there.
Okay. And you can.
Oh, there's on it.
And you want to play with the doggies?
Yes. And pet them.
And pet them.
And feed them.
And feed them.
Oh, they would love to get fed by you, Belle. They love food, and you get to meet Arthur and Ziggy.
That's right.
All right, well, Isabel, mwah, 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 mwah. Smooches to you.
Kiss back.
Give both kisses. God.
Kiss back.
We gotta go. You
Okay.
two, go ahead.
All
You
right.
two, get in there.
Mwah. You did excellent,
You did
Belle.
great, Isabel.
Isabel, you know what you say? You say, "Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
It was nice to see you."
Pleasant to see
It was great to see you, Belle.
Say you too.
you too.
All right, bye, Isabel.
Bye.
But you gotta wave to everybody.
Bye.
Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
And kiss.
Mwah. So, Lalie, thank you so much for letting us meet Isabel, letting the whole world and the audience meet Isabel. You're an inspiration to many. You've done great things. You got through it. The future's so bright. Take us home. Give us a last note on. You talked about what future moms or current moms or pandemic moms can expect. Why don't you leave our audience with just whatever you want to leave it with? Any words of wisdom, some love? The floor is yours, Lalie.
Thank you, Dan. So, first off, I want to thank you and the Real People podcast for this opportunity of interviewing me. I know my story might be unique, but there are hundreds and hundreds of other moms going through anything challenging, whether it's COVID or any other trial and tribulations at home. It's a tough water to navigate through, but you always have to just stay positive and, kind of have the right family support or even a support system and just get through it. And at the end of the day, you've got this amazing, beautiful life that is part of your world. So thank you, Dan. I really appreciate the time to meet me and talk.
It's my pleasure. I hope any moms can get some great tips from that, or anyone that wants to be a mom can use it and draw their own strength from it. It was a great story. Lalie, you were a great guest. I'm sure we'll have you back on for more topics as they arise. But this has been a great interview. Lalie, you were great. This has been the Real People Podcast. I'm Dan. That's Lalie, and we'll see you next time. Glasses.
She's a Disney princess.
You are a Disney princess. We spent a whole half hour talking about you being a Disney princess. Did you hear she just called me?